So what you are looking at is a map of Washington D.C. If it were to be hit by a nuclear ICBM, one of the strongest ones, the Satan II, that is currently held by Russia. Now, I've got new information that has just been released by the U.S. government. I'm going to be sharing with you the latest on this. Now, take a look. This article is going to be releasing some of the maps. Nuclear bomb map shows the impacts of Russian weapons on major U.S. cities. I'm going to be going through all of these as we're hearing that there is a list of major cities that will likely be hit by nuclear weapons. These will be the primary targets of Russia if they were to strike. So I'm going to be going through this. And in addition to this, I also shared with you in a previous upload that right now we are hearing that FEMA, the U.S. government, has actually released an updated nuclear guide to prevent radiation exposure. We heard that the UK is telling their citizens to get ready. Various nations, now the United States, is letting their citizens know here are some updates, some guides. If we were to have a nuclear explosion, a bomb to go off in the U.S., here is what you need to take into consideration. And in addition to that, nuclear apocalypse map shows the best and worst U.S. states to live in case of Armageddon. They're saying Vermont is where you want to be. Hawaii, you pretty much have got no chance. So I'm going to be covering all of these updates for you, letting you know what cities to watch out for, how far these blasts are going to reach. If you're in New York, California, Los Angeles, San Diego, Houston, Chicago, a lot of these cities are on the list. I'm going to be covering all of the maps for you. You can see how far the blasts are. You're going to be able to see where I live, my house, in the middle of these blasts. Also, they're saying if we do have a warning coming out, you have about 15 minutes to decide what it is you're going to do if you can get out of the blast radius. I'm going to share with you all the latest information coming out. And like I said, these updates just recently coming out in the past couple of days. I know a lot of people saying we've had these updates for quite some time. There's a lot of information out there that's old. These are new ones that have now been recently released with everything that's currently going on. But let us pray that nothing goes this route of all-out nuclear war. However, I'm going to make sure that you have the latest information so you know exactly what is going on. And if you appreciate that, do me a favor. If you take a quick second, hit the like button for me. So we've got 2,200 people live with me, almost 300 likes. If we get half the room to hit the like button, help spread this out further so more people can get the latest information. Somebody saying they'd rather be vaporized. Yes, I'm going to be sharing with you the circles where it says that if it hits, you will be vaporized. You don't have to worry about it. Also, in addition to that, to stay up to date, hit the subscribe button. It's totally free. Why not? And in addition to that, somebody was asking about resources. They're linked down below. Somebody was asking about my microphone. Yeah, if you are looking to get Black Friday deals on setups, if you're trying to start a YouTube channel or just trying to stock up on supplies, and various Amazon links down below so you can get access. Now's the time to do it with the sales that are currently going on if you wanted to stock up on things. But let me go ahead and get you guys caught up on the latest as to what is going on so that way you can see it for yourself with all the warnings that are currently going out. So first, let's go ahead and start off with this Washington, D.C. map so you can see exactly what is taking place here. So this map that you are looking at, the inner yellow circle is the fireball radius in which everything would be vaporized by intense heat rising to millions of degrees Fahrenheit. This would reach about 15.1 square miles. And again, just to clarify a little bit more detail on this, they are saying that this is estimations on cities. If Russia were to attack with a R-36M2, also known as the SS-18 Satan, this is one of the largest and most powerful heavy intercontinental ballistic missile ICBMs that has ever been built. And they're saying these would likely be the ones that could hit the United States and how far it could reach. And they're saying these are multiple times more powerful than what we saw dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So this map shows first that inner yellow circle. That is the vaporization zone. Millions and millions of degrees Fahrenheit, 15.1 square miles, everything in that inner circle vaporized. That is the fireball blast that you would see take place, and then you would see that mushroom cloud come out of there. Now, the more moderate blast damage radius is the inner gray circle, covering 442 square miles of blast. That would destroy residents, buildings, and probably cause widespread fire all throughout that inner gray circle. Now, anyone within 2,360 square miles of the explosion, that is the thermal radiation radius. It is the wide orange circle, and you would be at risk of suffering third-degree burns throughout your skin. But it says it's often painless because they destroy the pain nerves, but you very likely will not last too much longer after that due to radiation exposure and burns, which can cause severe scarring, disablement, require amputation. Now, within the light blast damage radius, this is the outermost circle, the wider gray circle, 3,490 square miles from the blast. Glass windows would shatter, and this would be expected to break. That could cause injuries. So you want to be out of the yellow areas. The gray area, you will still feel the impacts of it, but you won't feel the necessary damage that would cause life-ending issues. So this particular one for Washington, D.C. and the U.S. Capitol, where there's given about 24-hour period, there would be 6 million people within any 24-hour period that would get the full blast range of all 4 circles of the simulation detonation. 1.6 million people would lose their lives. 2 million people would sustain injuries. The fireball radius would include all of Capitol Hill. So that is for Washington, D.C. Now, in addition to that, let's go ahead and take a look at New York. So let me know in the comments, do you live in any of these major cities? Do you live in New York? We're going to be covering New York now in detail for you. So New York here, you can see in the New York, during any given 24-hour period, and you can see this will reach all the way out to Long Island, 16.2 million people on average would be present in a full blast range. An estimated 5.4 million people would lose their lives, 5.6 would suffer injuries. The light blast damage range would extend all the way to New Brunswick and Stamford for New York. Next up, we have Los Angeles. Los Angeles, some 2.7 million people would lose their lives, 4.3 million would be injured. In any given 24-hour period, there are on average 12 million people in the full blast range, all 4 circles of the simulated detonation. Thermal radiation would hit Santa Monica, Calabasas, Long Beach, and parts of Pomona as well. Next up, we have Chicago. Chicago, in any given 24-hour period, there are on average 7.6 million people in the full blast range of the radius of the simulated detonation for the city of Chicago. There would be an estimated of 1.9 fatalities, 2.5 million injuries, 1.9 million fatalities, 2.5 million injuries. About half of the blast's total area would reach across Lake Michigan. So this one you can see, would go out and would poison the water as well. Up next, we have Houston, Texas. This is my neck of the woods here. In Houston, where there are on average 5.3 million people in the full blast range of all 4 circles of this simulated detonation at any given 24-hour period, 1.2 million people would lose their lives, 1.9 million would sustain injuries. And in case you're wondering, I would, where I'm at right now, I would be vaporized. I'm right in the heart of the city. I do have some other locations probably that I could go to. I see the Woodlands is out of that blast range. But where I'm currently at, I would have 15 minutes to try to get out. And I don't know if you guys have been in Houston City before, but 15 minutes, there's no chance from where I'm at to get out of the city. So if you are in the heart of a city, you have got to think to yourself, okay, what am I going to do? And I've only got 15 minutes, they're saying. Now, in addition to that, I'm also going to be covering for you guys what FEMA is saying. The government has released an update as to what you need to take into consideration and the safest states. I'm going to show you that map as well. But let's go ahead and continue on to the next city so you can see an update here. Phoenix, Arizona, and you can see just pretty much all of Phoenix is just gone. Some 972,000 people would lose their lives in Phoenix, 1.4 would suffer injuries. In any given 24-hour period, there are on average 3.8 million people in the full blast range of this simulated detonation in Phoenix. Up next on the list, we have Philadelphia. An estimated 1.6 million people would lose their lives in Philadelphia, where there are on average 5.9 million people in the full blast range of all 4 circles of the simulated detonation. In any 24-hour period, some 1.9 million people would suffer injuries in the city of Philadelphia. Up next, we have here San Antonio. And San Antonio, you can also see just pretty much engulfed by this, much smaller than some of the other cities we've covered. There would be an average of 2 million people in the blast range of all four circles of the simulated detonation in any 24-hour given period in San Antonio, where 761,000 people would lose their lives, 754 people would be injured. Up next, we have San Diego. Some 968,000 people would lose their lives in San Diego, while 1.6 million would sustain injuries in any given 24-hour period. There are an average of 4.5 million people in the full blast range of all four circles of this simulated detonation, and you can see this would reach all the way down into Mexico. They would feel this blast if it were to hit. And up next, we have Dallas, and you can see, wow, this reaches all the way out to Fort Worth. They would feel this blast from this type of nuclear bomb, which, just to clarify, again, is more powerful than what we saw with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The technology that Russia possesses, and the United States for that matter, is multiple times more than what we saw with the last time that nuclear weapons were used. Dallas, in any given 24-hour period, there are around 5.5 million people in the full blast range of all four circles of the simulated detonation in Dallas. 1 million people would lose their lives. 1.9 million people would suffer injuries in this scenario in Dallas. Now, things are currently escalating with all of the conflict that is going on, and we have heard that they have actually released, the U.S. government, FEMA, has released updated information on what it is that you need to take into consideration as these blasts, if they were to occur and unfold. And again, these are not all of the cities. These are just some that they have done demonstrations to show you what it would look like if you reside in these cities. Now, let me know, do you live in any of these cities that I've covered? Again, I have covered for you Washington, D.C., New York, Los Angeles. I covered Chicago, Houston, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Arizona, San Antonio, and San Diego. Drop a 1 if you live in any of these cities. Drop a 2 if you live in a different city. Let me know in the comments, but we're hearing that these are some of the main ones that they felt were so significant to take a look at, that they've actually mapped out what the nuclear blast would look like if these ones were hit. So if you are in those cities, drop a 1. If you're not, drop a 2. And again, just to clarify, these are not all of them on the list. I see people mentioning other cities, and yes, as we also saw in that.
Shalom. First off, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Yahweh being the true name for the Heavenly Father, Yahushai being the name for His only begotten Son, who the world eagerly calls God, and Jesus Christ. I want to give double honors to our apostles and elders, great millstone, that taught us truth and will well. And salutations to you, hopeful light pushing this truth and all honesty and sincerity. This is Brother Yabasap, coaching another lesson to the spirit power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Another update in times and events. Now, you've seen the opening video that a reporter shared. You know, he makes a lot of videos letting you know what's going on as far as in the world with the war situation. And, you know, it's interesting to see all the articles that were brought out that have been shared, you know, talking about what you can do to prepare in case a nuclear weapon hits. These talks haven't been made since, you know, the time of the Cold War. You know, when you had Cuba receiving aid from Russia and weapons over there and all of that, man. But that goes to show you the reality of what times we're in. We're really telling people to prepare, and they're showing you maps of the radius and, you know, how much damage and destruction and what to expect, because these things are getting ready to hit. Now, what I wanted to share is this article here. It says locations of U.S. nuclear weapons 2006. Now, this is public information that I just pulled up on Google. So in addition to those major cities that are going to be targets, anywhere within that same blast radius around these military bases are going to be targeted as well. So you can just imagine the extensive damage that the United States is going to feel. Okay, and these are just bases that or publicly shared information that stored nuclear weapons. Okay, and you can see, you know, the location of some of these. Like you got, for example, I'm in Kansas City, and the closest nuclear base here is Whiteman Air Force Base, which is only about 55-minute drive from Kansas City. Okay, so about an hour, man, which is just, roughly 60 miles. And you've seen the blast radius is thousands of miles for third-degree burn. So that means Kansas City is pretty much going to be wiped out. And that's a major U.S. city. You got Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana, Kings Bay, Georgia, Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota. And you got to calculate, based upon that radius he shared, how it's going to be affecting you. And these people are going to burn, man. They're going to burn. You got Warren Air Force Base, Colorado, which is just a few miles away from Denver. So there's damn near not a U.S. city that's not going to be affected, because you got to remember too, even when these things go off, even though you might not be in the quote unquote blast radius, there's something that's going to happen called a nuclear winter. And you have massive radiation poisoning too. All that radiation is going to enter into your public drinking supply water sources, your springs, your rivers, your lakes. The cloud is going to come up. All the dust and soot is going to enter to the atmosphere, and it's going to block out the sun. So you're going to have a winter that's going to hit in places where winter's never supposed to touch. So you're talking about people freezing to death. The radiation particles in the smoke is going to enter into the different wind currents, and all that poisonous radiated dust is going to fall on all the crops. And look at some of these states that have major farmlands that supply food to the United States. So all your vegetables and fruits are going to be deemed toxic. So you're going to have massive starvations. So the whole nation is basically doomed. Is done if a nuclear war takes place, because those missiles will hit their targets. There's not enough missile defense systems to stop the amount of nuclear weapons that these countries have. And we're just talking about Russia here. He didn't even mention, China, Iran, North Korea, India. I mean, there's so many other countries that got them. Okay, so the reality is really about to set in for you people, man. If you're not right with it in the Heavenly Father, you're just going to be destroyed. And as you can see, unless you're in that immediate vaporized circle, you're not about to have a quick death. You're going to suffer third-degree burns, which will be painful. And then you got to suffer radiation poisoning and die slowly. And that's all in the scriptures, man. So you people have taken, this truth for granted and didn't take heed to the warnings. But yet, he's saying in the video, it's not a matter if nuclear fallout, nuclear war happens. It's when. And it's very, very soon, man. And these are just targets from one country, from Russia. What about the rest of them? Like I said, they got a problem with the United States. Then you also got to deal with boots on the ground, which will happen too. There will be an invasion. So this place will just be completely obliterated up in smoke, man. This is Malachi 4, verse 1. It says, "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Yahweh of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch." Okay, so the scriptures, were written because they were given to the prophets in visions and dreams, and they seen visions of the future. The Lord showed them visions of the future and dreams of this destruction. Okay, so the lake of fire, the judgment, Armageddon, all written in the Bible, it's talking about a third world war using nuclear warfare. That's why this is where the fire is coming from. The Lord has sent fire and judgment of Sodom and Gomorrah, before, but that was for an example of what not to do. And when you live your lifestyle that way, the Lord says the judgment that's fit for that type of punishment is by fire. So it's no surprise that the Lord's going to do it this time, but in a world fashion, a world catastrophic event. So many countries are going to taste of this fire this time, instead of just one city such as Sodom and Gomorrah or Pompeii. This time it's going to be entire continents and nations, and multiple cities are going to feel the pain. And this place, the United States, is pretty much going to be wiped off the map. Okay? This is book of 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10. It says, "But the day of Yahweh will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat." So what's that talking about? Okay, first it said heavens pass away with a great noise. Where do you think that noise is going to come from? All right, when those missiles fly through the sky and jets and bombers, they create something called a sonic boom. Okay, and also the blast itself creates the same thing. So that's that great noise. Explosions and the missiles flying by and hitting. It says, "And the elements shall melt with fervent heat." Now, when you go into the atom bomb and you study it, you learn about the elements and the elements on the periodic table and what uranium does and what happens when you split atoms. Okay, when the atoms are split, it causes the elements of the periodic table to melt because of the amount of heat that's produced behind that reaction. Okay, it says, "Elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up." So something that has extremely amount of heat that causes things to melt. All right, and he explained that in the video. And the immediate blast rate, things are just going to melt and vaporize. Okay, and this day is going to take everyone off guard. And there's not going to be any time to get out of these cities. 15 minutes? 15 minutes, man. Come on. And think of how all the millions of people that are trying to also escape in that 15 minutes. So you're going to have just cars piled up on the highway. You ain't going nowhere. You're just done. This is why you're going to need divine intervention. And this is why there's going to be another great exodus. Because in the time of ultimate destruction of the Lord's chosen people, in ancient times, we were trying to escape the Egyptians, and they were going to literally just obliterate us and wipe us out. His army was coming. So what did the Lord have to do? He had to intervene. He sent fire nails to block them. He parted the Red Sea so we could escape, and then close the sea up on top of them. So this time, he's going to send his chariots, what people call today, quote unquote, UFOs or alien ships. Those are actually the angels of the Heavenly Father, and you see their vehicles, and he's going to use those to beam us up out of the way from this destruction. That's us, as in the elect, the chosen, the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, and the 144,000 elect of the nation of Israel. He's going to make a way for us to escape, but the wicked will be left to taste of this destruction and this death, man. The Lord's going to make a way for us to escape. Those that have followed him and kept his commandments and called upon his true name, that's been learning and studying this truth. He's going to give divine intervention of angelic protection for us, which that's the only thing that you have as a key to escape. You can try to invest in millions of dollars of bunkers all you want. Those bunkers not going to protect you from millions of degrees of heats. Okay, you're just gonna the bunker's just gonna become a giant turkey oven. You know, and these elites, they got bunkers that go into miles and miles inside the mountains and stuff. But even then, if they do escape, quote unquote, hypothetically, the bombs and the heat and destruction, you can't escape when the Lord says he's going to make his chosen into hunters and gives them, quote unquote, superpowers like Samson to go and hunt the wicked and rip the bunker doors open and go grab them people out of there. That's also in the scriptures, man. Okay. This is Isaiah 24:20. It says, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it. It shall fall and not rise again. Right? When them bombs hit, it's going to set off the chain reaction of the tectonic plates will shift, earthquakes. Whole continents will be moved with that much power and force hitting the earth, man. It's going to cause earthquakes. It's going to cause volcanoes to erupt. So everything's going to look different. The earth as you know it, the continental maps will be looking different when this is all said and done. This is Revelation 6:13. It says, and the stars of heaven fell into the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. Okay, the stars of heaven. When you look at those missiles when they come into the sky, pay attention to those videos. You know, when Israel was shooting them rockets into Iran, and Iran was shooting Israel, they look like stars coming out of the sky. When you really look at it, this is what the prophet seen in the vision. Okay, it says, heaven fell into the earth, even as a fig tree casts her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. So they've seen the missiles come into the atmosphere. It says, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it was rolled together. So he saw the mushroom cloud. And every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Right. Earthquakes, everything shifted. Some of land just got completely demolished. The terrain is going to be obliterated and moved. Okay. This is Zechariah 14:12. It says, and this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Right, that blast, that vaporization is going to burn all of those off their body, their flesh. So all the wicked, these Edomites and these wicked heathen nations that had us in slavery and still have us in this captivity, they're going to be burned this way. Talking about the radiation blast, you know, nobody's going to survive it. Okay. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from Yahweh shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hands of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. So people are going to be fighting in this war. And then you're going to go into survival mode. You know, survival of the fittest. People are going to become desperate. There's not going to be any grocery stores or truckers in that day. There's not going to be no jobs to hire nobody to do all this stuff. This place is going to be obliterated. So people are going to be scavenging desperately for food. Killing each other for it. Searching homes that survived the blast. People are going to be looking all sorts of deformed, like you said, amputated, amputees, half their bodies burned up, walking around amongst the streets. And the judgment, the day of the Lord is horrific, and it's coming. And it's coming for the wicked, man. You know, so pay attention to what's going on in the world to see how much closer we're getting to that day. And we're almost home, man. We're going to get delivered soon. Speaking to the hopeful elect and 1/3, you know, Lord's will, we be of that number. And the Lord save us from all this, because we're going to need him. So with that, Lord's will, lessons edify. I'm going to close out. Give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, double honors to our apostles and elders, great millstone, Tasha's truth and will well. Salutations to you, hopeful elect, pushing his truth and honest sincerity. Shalom.